Yo, what's happening everyone? It's me, it's Count, here with an all-new Pokemon GO video. Today I want to talk about all of the stuff that Niantic is putting into Pokemon GO, some of the stuff that they have just implemented into Pokemon GO. I really want to emphasize the fact that Niantic does listen to their community. A lot of the stuff that players have wanted for a long time, they're finally being implemented into the game. And I really want to point out some of these features because I think for a lot of players, it's just going over their heads. They do not realize how significant the month of August is going to be. So if you end up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if it's your first time here. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So like I mentioned off the top, Niantic is implementing a whole bunch of stuff into Pokemon GO. Most of it is quality of life improvements, and I really think that for what the game is right now, players should be rejoicing. Even going into this summer, the game was in a really great place. Niantic was announcing a whole bunch of events, they were trying out a lot of new things, and they were implementing a lot of new things. Now since PvP came out, the game is essentially feature complete. There really isn't too much that they could add to Pokemon GO that we weren't expecting. I think the only thing that we can expect at this point from the main series of games is breeding. That's kind of like the only feature that is lacking in Pokemon GO. But overall right now they are in a really good place with Pokemon GO. They're not in a point where they are pressured to implement something. That a lot of what they are doing right now is just tweaking the game and polishing it, which is why you could see a lot of what they're doing for Pokemon GO right now is just a lot of quality of life improvements. And because they do not have that pressure to implement some kind of core mechanic, they are able to look at the community, see what the community wants, and implement those changes. There are three things that I want to talk about that Niantic is implementing into Pokemon GO, and a couple things that Niantic has already implemented into Pokemon GO that players have been wanting pretty much since the beginning of this year. And the first thing, of course, is Shiny Rayquaza. Of course, a couple of months ago, they teased Shiny Rayquaza. They gave us a Rayquaza raid weekend, and a lot of people suspected that this is when Shiny Rayquaza was going to be released. There was a leak that suggested that they would actually release Shiny Rayquaza during that weekend, and Niantic basically said no, it's not going to happen. Fast forward till now, and we're finally getting this shiny, and this is one shiny legendary that players have been wanting for a very long time. It's definitely up there in the top 5 for a lot of players. A lot of people really wanted this shiny. It has a really cool aesthetic. It's a very powerful Pokemon. It's definitely something that we should be hyped about. And yes, like I said, this is something that players have wanted for a long time, and I really feel like it's a little bit overdue. But in any case, you know, it's finally going to be in the game, so why should we complain? And something else that they added into Pokemon GO that players have been wanting for a very long time is an increase to our Pokemon storage. With all the events that we've been getting with Pokemon GO Fest, with all of the new shinies, and of course with Shadow Pokemon and Purified Pokemon, we've desperately needed an increase in Pokemon storage. Of course, the best way to go about it is to manage your Pokemon storage. I mean, you know, just hold on to the ones that you really want to hold on to and clean out the rest. You really do not need 15 Groudon and 15 Kyogre. I mean, as much as those 93% and the 91% are valuable, you really only need to hold on to 6 of the top ones, whether they be 95% or 98% or even your hundos, and then you could scrap the rest. You really don't need every single legendary that's over 90%. But regardless of the fact, Niantic has given us 500 more Pokemon for our Pokemon storage, and this is something that players have been wanting. Again, maybe it's a little bit overdue. I would have liked this for my Pokemon GO Fest, but in any case, yeah, we are finally getting 500 more Pokemon in our Pokemon storage. And I almost guarantee you, a couple months from now, people will be asking for 3,000 as our max Pokemon storage space, and maybe Niantic will oblige, who knows. Gen 5 is around the corner, so it's very possible they may increase it up to 3,000. Interestingly enough, players have not wanted or not requested having an increase to our bag storage, but I really suspect that that will be coming soon happen depending on if Niantic releases new items. We did get the new lure types, the mossy lures, the glacial lures, so I suspect that if they were to implement some kind of new item, whether it be like bottle caps or some sort of new TM, I really think they will increase the bag space as well for those. And there's a lot of items that we still want that I really think would benefit the game, even if it was some sort of premium item. Like Master Balls would be really cool. I really want something like Master Balls, even if it's a one-time use item. Like, I think that would be really cool. And yes, I've been desperately wanting this for such a long time, but I feel like I'm the only one. I would love to have bottle caps implemented into the game. I don't necessarily feel the sentimental value of 100% Pokemon that I catch in the wild. I'd rather have a whole bunch of 100% Pokemon regardless of how I get it, just for the sake of raid battles and just for the sake of my own collection. I know a lot of people hold a lot of value to their 100% Pokemon that they've caught in the wild or that they've hatched or that they've gotten through raid battles, but honestly, something like bottle caps could definitely improve the game. And maybe something unique to Pokemon Go, maybe they could have something that's like a reverse bottle cap to lower the IVs of some of your Pokemon so that you could use them in the Great League. I know a lot of people would want that, but I don't necessarily know if Niantic would justify that. I honestly don't know. It could happen. And finally, the third thing that I really want to talk about is the improvements to PvP. Of course, for a long time, players have been wanting some variety in the gameplay. They wanted a little bit more strategy and a little bit more technique, and that's exactly what they gave us. Pokemon Go's PvP may not necessarily be as complex and as in-depth as the mainstream games, but it's definitely a lot of fun and it's definitely fast-paced, and to add on to that, they added a whole bunch of new swipe mechanics. I mean, before, to get all of the damage of your charge attacks was pretty simple. You just tapped until you got an excellent, but now it actually requires a little bit of flair. It requires a little bit of technique. Like if I were to get an excellent on a charge attack, it really requires me to know and anticipate where I need to swipe. And you can just essentially just swipe like mad on the screen, but if you've actually done a fighting type charge attack, you will know that that's not always successful. So kudos on Niantic. They're really looking at the community feedback. They're not being stubborn with their game mechanics. They're willing to make changes here and there in order to improve the game, and that's really rare in the game industry, I have to tell you that. There's definitely quite a lot of stuff that Niantic could still implement by the end of the year that players have been wanting for a long time. I think some bug fixes would definitely go a long way. I think that's one of the big complaints. Of course, that really comes down to manpower. I mean, if you've ever been in a game development environment, you would know that fixing one bug could potentially create 3 more or reintroduce a super old bug. That's just the nature of game development. It never falls into place. It's never a perfect puzzle. So you have to give Niantic some slack. I definitely think they are trying their best to fix a lot of these old nagging bugs. You just kind of have to give them a little bit of room to breathe and try to fix these bugs. Just putting that pressure on them to fix certain bugs is not going to get those bugs fixed, let alone get those bugs fixed and introduce a whole bunch of other bugs. That's just been my experience with game development. Of course, it could be egregious for all we know. Like if you look at Fallout 76, the bug fixing in that game is absolutely horrible. Like Bethesda is a great company, but they're just terrible when it comes to the bug fixing department, and quite honestly, I don't see Niantic at that level. They have been a lot slower than usual when it comes to fixing bugs, but I tend to give them a lot of slack, mainly because in the content department and in terms of events, they've been just killing it lately. So you could essentially forgive them for a lot of the bugs that are currently in the game as long as they're implementing a lot of cool stuff. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, and that's fine. I know a lot of players who would rather have a bug-free game as opposed to an event-filled game, but I digress. Everyone has their own opinions with Pokémon GO, but I really think the game is in a good place, and a lot of the bugs that are currently in the game, they're not necessarily game-breaking, so yeah. I really am hopeful for Pokémon GO. I really am grateful for what Niantic has been doing. The Team Rocket invasion has been really great. It's definitely something new, and I really enjoy it. I was really surprised by it. I really didn't think Niantic would ever implement something like this, something that's really fun, something that's really engaging and challenging, and my goodness, Niantic has just been killing it when it comes to all of the quality of life improvements. So I really hope this is something that continues. Maybe the next big thing will be breeding. Maybe that's something that they're going to be implementing by the end of the year. Maybe NPC raid battles or trainer battles like Giovanni. I think a lot of players have been asking for that. That would be really cool by the end of the year, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm really curious to see what Niantic does in the future. Will there be some gym leader trainer battles? Like, I'm really curious to know. Of course, they are trying to kind of keep it separate from the mainstream games. Like, they really want Pokemon Go to have its own identity in the Pokemon franchise, and I can respect that. But I'm really curious to see what they bring in from the main series games that are currently not in Pokemon Go. Off the top of my head, I can only think of breeding, but there's plenty of stuff from the mainstream games that could really translate well into Pokemon Go that we have yet to see, so I'm really excited about that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think about all of the stuff that Niantic is doing for Pokemon Go? I would love to know your thoughts. What are some of the features that you are looking forward to that they are finally implementing? What are some of the things that you would like to see added into Pokemon Go? Let's have a great discussion in the comments section. And yeah, if you ended up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if it's your first time here. I am Count Jinsula, and I'll catch you all later. Oh, and before I forget, I actually have a pin coming out through Goozy Pins. You definitely want to check it out. You can actually get it in pre-order right now. Check out the link in the description below. It's definitely a cool pin. It's kind of like my first official merch. So if you want some Count Jinsula merch, here you go. Go and buy yourself a pin. All right, that's it. Peace out.